Hello, this is Ulla from Hacking Chinese, and in this little video I'm going to share a suggestion for how to improve your character learning with Skritter. Now this video is part of an article I will publish today, which is related to how to review characters in general, but since I think that this is the thing I want to show you is easier to actually do than just to write about, I'll provide this little video for you. Okay, so I'm going to use Skritter, which I think is a great tool for learning characters. I use it daily myself, and it's helped me. It's helped me stay motivated, and it keeps me on track with my own character learning. However, there is a problem in Skritter, and Skritter itself has already provided an answer, so I'm just going to show you what the problem is and how you fix it. And the problem is related to the leniency, or how much feedback Skritter gives you. The problem is that Skritter gives you more feedback than it should. And this is good if you want to feel good about character learning, but it's not so good if you want to have character writing skills that transfer well into the real world. So I'm just going to show you directly what the problem is, and then I'm going to show you how to solve it. So here I'm using Skritter's online interface, and I'm using a writing tablet. So I'm reviewing here, and I encountered this word, 消, so it's 喧嚣的嚣, and well, it has a it probably has a 口部, so a mouth radical. And as you saw, what happened there was that when I try to write this, Skritter automatically helps me by moving the character part to its correct position. And this is very serious in this case, because I actually thought that there was a mouth radical to the left here, like in 宣 over here. Now, by moving this character component up here, Skritter basically tells me not only that I was wrong, but also what I should do, because there are very few characters that start like this. And since I'm reasonably familiar with characters, I can easily spot my mistake, and I keep going, and I write the rest of 消 correctly. So it gives me a green light, whereas in fact I was wrong. If I had written this on paper, it would have been really tricky. I'm not sure what would have happened, but we can imagine that I start writing this, and I don't know how to continue here, but I'll show you in a bit what would have happened. So next example is 芦, 芦苇的芦. And it's a plant, or it's related to vegetation, so we start with a grass radical. Fine. Now let's say that I don't know this character, or I've forgotten how to write it. I mistakenly think that this is written as 萝卜的萝, so it's no, it wasn't. This is wrong. So I intended to write this, and my first stroke was interpreted and moved up here because it was also a vertical stroke. Now, if you are familiar with characters, you know that this combination here is pretty rare, and there is only one way to continue this, and it's like this, and you end up with the character 芦. So again, Skritter helped me. I tried to write, well, first the grass, then a vertical. It's pretty far away here, so it moves it up here and tells me, oh, you're wrong, you should have written this. And if you're not careful, you might think that you actually know this character, whereas if you'd done this on paper, well, perhaps you would not have fared so well. Okay, so we go to the next example. Now this is a problem which is common. There are strokes in Chinese that are that differentiate two characters, and they differ only by the length of the stroke. So, well, let's check your knowledge here. Should this is 自己的己, so should we start the stroke here, here, or here? All three are existing characters and separate characters. Well, the answer is that we should start here, and voila, we are correct. Now, what would have happened if we started in the middle here? Well, we get a green light again. And up here then, well, a green light again. So you can't really trust everything Skritter does. Meaning that if it gives you a green light, it might still mean that you would have made a mistake if you had written on paper. Now, there is a way we can solve, I'd say, most of these problems, not all of them. Like this problem here, it's so slight that it's very hard to tell the computer to identify the key part here. And it's very hard to program something that can separate this little difference from some other length of some other stroke and know that this is significant, whereas the length of this stroke isn't. But there is, as I said, there is one thing we can change. So we go to Settings, and we go to the bottom right corner. We have something called Raw Squigs. It's a very cute name, I think. You check this little box, and you save changes and reload the page. Okay, so what does Raw Squigs mean? It means that instead of drawing idealized or the correct or beautiful model characters for you, Skritter will just show you whatever you write. So let's try our examples again and see how we would have fared with this model, with this feature turned on. So again, I'm going to start by writing a mouth radical here. Now I'm not really sure how to continue here. Perhaps I think it's something pronounced something like xiao. Yeah, perhaps I thought it would have been this bit here. I start out with this one, oh correct, and I keep, and here I see directly that, okay, I try to write these two dots here, but Skritter is suggesting this. I'm obviously out of my league here. I have no idea what's going on, and I should give up, or I should start from scratch and see, okay, xiao, and I might or might not be able to get the correct character. That is not the important thing. The important thing is that I am under no illusion that I knew this character. I know for a fact that I didn't know it, and I can just treat it as a forgotten character, rather than something I think I know but actually don't. Let's check the Lu example. So we have our grass up here, no problems. And now I'm going to start writing this part down here, and we start having problems here immediately. And now that Skritter suggests this stroke. Now, there are definitely no Chinese characters that start like this. So we know again that we definitely have a problem here. So starting over, or looking at the correct answer and treating it as a forgotten character is the only real solution. Okay, and this Ji example is unsolved. This, as I said, we won't solve this problem. And before I round this off, I want to show you another problem that you should be aware of, and that you should judge yourself harshly if you make this kind of mistake, because Skritter won't help you. And it is this. So let's say we're going to write the character ya, so it's ya suo de ya, which means to press or push. So I start out, and and we have the dog and so on. Okay, what happens here now? I thought this was the right answer, right? But Skritter hasn't told me that it is the right answer, so I'm obviously lacking something. Well, it should be a tool down here. However, because Skritter didn't really, Skritter doesn't know when you're finished. So in this case, Skritter thought that I was still writing the character, whereas in fact I had already finished. We have the opposite example, which is if you're going to write yen, so 讨厌的yen. We start out the same way, and let's say I think that there should be an earth component here. So I leave space down here for it and everything. And Skritter tells me that I'm right, this is the right answer, even if I was still writing. So let's do that again, and I do it quickly and see what happens. So I keep writing here, and I start writing here, but it's still, Skritter will just give me the right answer as soon as it's there, bam. And these kinds of characters are not extremely common, but there are still a fair number of them. So if you, basically what you should be aware of is that if your expectation of what was right is different from the right answer, you should grade this as wrong. You should not grade this as something you know. Like, you can imagine what would have happened if we wrote this on paper. because paper doesn't care when you're finished or not. It's just there. And if you would have forgotten to write the tool, or if you would have added it by mistake, it's just there and it would be an obvious mistake. Whereas in Skritter, you get prompted or not prompted to keep on writing. Now this is, if you turn on the raw squigs function, I think this problem almost goes away completely. There are, of course, cases where it doesn't, but I think they are not that significant. I have direct experience of using Skritter only to maintain character writing, and I think it works decently. It works pretty well. To give you an example, I had a course last autumn that included an exam where we were supposed to handwrite characters for about 4 hours. It was about teaching methodology, and you had to detail different kinds of theories and compare them with each other and so on. And this involved a lot of handwriting. Now, I practiced for this exam mostly just using spaced repetition, like Skritter. I didn't write much on paper, I didn't practice much writing in general. And it worked pretty well, actually. I passed the exam with a reasonable score, I think, and I did remember how to write most of the characters. Now, the main problem was, of course, that I wasn't used to writing thousands of characters in a few hours, so I was very, very tired in my hand after the exam. But I would say that if you turn on the raw squigs and you're a bit vigilant when it comes to giving yourself a green light or red light for these tricky cases, I think this kind of method works pretty well to maintain a large amount of characters without spending too much time. So that was all I wanted to show you. If you are interested in joining the challenge, just head over to Hacking Chinese and sign up. You can still win. People who participate in the challenge will get free extensions to Skritter, and you will also get a 3-week trial and some discounts and so on if you aren't using Skritter already.